Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this afternoon or this morning, if you're in Columbus, Ohio, like my good friend Amir from Longwoods, who you can see right here. Good morning, Amir.
Good morning, Graham, and everyone.
How are you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. It's a spring day here, but a little rainy.
Good. We're going to swap to speaker view now, so we can get the full beauty of your face when you start talking, and the full beauty of your new hairstyle. So, Amir, since the COVID-19 crisis really started, you've been obviously, as US's leading tourism research outfit, you've been tracking visitor sentiment and the willingness of people to, and the keenness of people to go on holiday. How is that at the moment, and how has it gone since the beginning? Has it been a bit of a roller coaster, or has there been a consistency in people's opinions?
Yeah, great question. It has been a roller coaster. So since early March 11th was our first survey. We've been doing a survey every week, every Wednesday and Thursday, of 1,000 traveling Americans, asking them about their sentiment towards travel. What we've seen is obviously sentiment toward travel in the next 6 months. The belief that the COVID virus would greatly impact our travel. Sentiment was high. Fear of impact of travel was relatively low beginning of March, and then about a week and a half later, most of the U.S. went into lockdown mode, and really sentiment kind of tanked and bottomed out around the first week of April or so. And then throughout the month of April and into early May, we kind of started seeing it inch back up, and then started plateauing again. What we've really seen is, based on all the data that we've been acquiring on travel sentiment and feelings of safety and concerns, is this big pent-up ball of demand to travel, which we've seen after every economic downturn, crisis, post 9/11, et cetera. But that demand has typically started releasing at the right point, and continue, and business climbs up at a good pace. What we have here is unprecedented. We have this demand, that's ball of demand, running right into a wall of fear. And there, our visitor sentiment, this past week's survey alone showed that 45% of Americans are opposed to the idea of reopening their communities to visitors at this moment due to the fear of the spread of coronavirus. There. So while there's, and they're evenly divided on their own travels, and they're evenly divided even on their engagement in their own community, almost a similar amount. About 40% are hesitant to go back to local restaurants and retail as both of those start opening up in a lot of our communities across the country. So it's a concern, because until we can overcome that wall of fear, I don't think we're going to see as rapid an acceleration as we'd like to see.
And do you think that sort of tagged to, if you like, the longer time goes on, the number of victims from COVID-19, both people have got it, people have died from it, and so on, they're rising. The media, I wouldn't say alarmist, but they're certainly not going to not report it in anywhere in the world, because bad news sells advertising space. Do you think it's a question of that, or do you think it's a question of just generally people are, Christ, I don't want to get it, and I'm not going to go anywhere outside of my front room or my front yard until I have a vaccine?
Yeah, it's a mix of both, really. I mean, what we've seen, that things have kind of slid a little bit over the past week, is just because I think primarily due to the debate is so loud right now here in the U.S. Of a reopening too soon, and will there be a second surge, and so forth. So that is definitely getting into the psyche of the consumer sentiment, and those who may have been on the fence may have drifted against, and so forth. Demographically too, we're seeing, obviously the younger, the millennials and Gen Z are probably a little more eager to, resume old normal activity versus those who have families and kids and older, and so forth. So we're seeing that mix right there in there. But I think I think that's why it behooves destinations and attractions and everybody's got a business industry to really help send that message of their commitment to providing as risk-free an environment as possible to the visitor experience. when it's okay to travel again.
I've got, I've done about probably in the region of a dozen interviews with American destinations in the last couple of weeks. And I did actually one with Atlantic City this week with 6 of their stakeholders. And I was very impressed actually by the amount of safety measures, the seriousness they took with everything, and also the fact that they recognized that in order for Atlantic City, which is within a 4-hour drive of a huge percentage of the North American population, they've got to show that they are looking after personal safety for everyone, and they're going to great lengths to do that. Do you think if you were in charge of a destination now, that would be the sort of marketing you'd be looking for? If you were personally assured of the fact that your stakeholders had put a lot of effort, that there were safety measures in place, that you would be really projecting the fact that, come here and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the temporary new normal for marketing, right? As we get into reopening, we're going to have to, it's not just about the destination, the experience. It's about providing a minimized risk destination. You gotta be careful about the word safe, right? Because you can't guarantee the safety, but you can demonstrate that minimizing of risk. You have seen over the past week, we've seen a number of destinations. Actually, Visit Savannah started Savannah Safe. Columbus, Ohio, here, Experience Columbus started a program called Live Forward. North Carolina has a program they just launched called Count on Me NC, which are basically inviting businesses to participate and take a pledge that they'll abide by a certain criteria of best practices guidelines in ways of social distancing, et cetera, and so forth. And they're sharing and they're posting those who've taken the pledge, and so that the visitor can see, this commitment. And North Carolina has even gone one step further because, as I told you, here in America, we're definitely divided, about whether or not we want to welcome visitors back in the community. So the North Carolina program actually also invites visitors to take a pledge that they will abide by the best practices rules in the destination and so forth. So I think that's a great balance. And I think that's going to be part of the pro forma of what you have to do as you get ready to enter recovery.
Again, anecdotally, as opposed to your scientific data, most people that I've spoken to are saying that they're going to go local, regional, national, and then international. I'm assuming that's pretty much across the board. But what type of holidays do you think people will take? Again, anecdotally, people have said, and I've seen some notes that people are going to prefer, that to go out into the big open spaces, the camper vans and mobile homes will be in short supply because everybody's going to want one of them. Have you found that out? Have you got any research on that?
Yeah, we asked the question 2 weeks ago. We felt the time was right to say, okay, when it's okay for you to resume non-essential travel, what is the first trip you're going to take? And I will tell you that definitely the biggest category of travel was visiting friends and relatives. Here in the United States, most of us have missed our spring break vacations. We've missed Easter with the families. We've missed Mother's Day. We're missing graduation season right now for high schools and colleges. So there's that strong desire to reconnect with loved ones, friends, and family. So we see that happening. And then the second category is leisure getaways for sure. But overwhelmingly, the great majority, whether they're traveling to visit friends and relatives or for leisure purposes, it's going to be road trips. Very small percentages indicating that they'd be open to air travel right away there. But the good news was when we asked the question, only 8% of travelers told us they're planning not to travel in the next 6 months.
Any mention of cruise, Amir?
No, cruising really didn't register in our survey. We weren't looking at cruising, but I've seen other data from other studies that have been done out there by some very reputable colleagues, and it's appeared very consistent that the highest degree of hesitancy among consumers is to board a cruise ship at the moment. They're much higher than airplanes or other modes of transportation.
Cool. And in terms of international markets, I'm assuming that the first ones to emerge will be your neighbours as opposed to people from Europe.
Yeah, I believe it was announced yesterday or the day before that the border with the U.S. and Canada will be closed to non-essential travel for at least another month here. That was extended, but I would imagine, that's where the waters will be tested first, right? But I think it's going to be, I'm not a health expert, but I think it's obviously going to be determined by the relationship with those countries. It's a two-way street. That, we've got to feel that the international market has, done an effective job of containing and is implementing best practices and travel habits of its citizens, and they have to feel the same way about us, right?
Sure.
So I think it's going to take that kind of reciprocity, and if you see that happening, that will help you maybe predict which markets are going to come on.
Yeah, they're talking here in Europe about tourism bridges and tourism bubbles, about little groups of countries that might get together in open borders, or a bridge between one country and another. But I think you're right. People that come from predominantly at the moment the UK and the USA are not going to be welcomed too quickly in an open border situation.
Sure.
Amir, thank you very much. I know you're a busy man. You're probably popping off to CNN or CBS or Fox, but obviously you've had the highest accolade possible, and that's being on Travel Mole.
Well, thank you so much, Graham. It's been a pleasure.
And I trust as well that even though I can't see, that you're not wearing any sort of Lorenz type fashion under the table in terms of Crocs and tartan sweatpants.
Nah, we've kept it casual to jeans today, but I haven't resorted to pajama pants yet.
Good man. Thank you very much, Amir, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care.
Cheers.